All right, Tim Adams, Chad Brendel. We're back in our spot. We're 2-0 in this spot, so we technically can't go to another spot until this streak comes to an end.
Superstition.
I mean, we're hot here. And we've got the Cincinnati Ball of Courage Award high above. So,
It's a good hodgepodge of trophies. There's a 1963 Missouri Valley baseball trophy next to the...
These are the best.
This is George Mike and its most improved team from 57, 58.
Yeah, that turned out.
Yeah.
They ended up being pretty good going forward after that. Let's dust off the South Florida victory from last week.
Good win.
Very good win. Most importantly, man, the run defense was good.
Very good.
For as much as we've doubted and questioned their ability to stop the run, South Florida is a talented team rushing the football. Marlon Mack is if you've watched them play outside of what you saw on Friday night, you've seen he's got the ability to take things to the house at any point in time, and they kept him bottled up really, really well.
And I thought the other thing they did was get a lead on them and take him out of the game a little bit. He only had 10 carries, and so getting that lead prevented him from really playing much more.
And they took Andre Davis out of the game, and eventually Andre Davis took himself out of the game.
Yeah, there was a lot of talking going on.
There was.
I don't know if Chris Moore filled him in on some secrets, but boy, they sure got him mad, and they got him mad fast, and then he got two players, Dunkley and Chris Dunkley, who had a little tainted past. Dunkley was a guy signed with Florida, was dismissed, transferred to USF. He got dismissed from the team for a domestic abuse charge, and then came back, switched from wide receiver to cornerback. But he got the early interference call, too.
Yeah, and I didn't know about that ejection. If anybody should have been ejected, it should have been the hit on Shaq Washington.
On the punt, yeah.
I mean, because that guy just lit him up before the ball got there. If that's not grounds for an ejection, what is? Outside of Andre Davis punching somebody in the helmet, which is always the dumbest move in sports.
Absolutely. But I saw a lot of ejections this weekend since I played on Friday, and I got to see a lot of games on Saturday. And I don't like that rule. I hate that targeting rule. I think sometimes guys are just making a mistake by hitting a little bit high, and to get tossed from the game is a big penalty, I think.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's look at Tulane. You going to New Orleans for Halloween?
No, well, we went to Dallas. That
was your road trip this year. I thought about heading down there.
I love that place.
Yeah, and I've got a good friend that lives down there now, so I'd have a couch to crash on, but that's a long journey. It's a long journey.
I like to fly.
Bearcats have to be feeling a little better about themselves. They've won 2 in a row in fairly convincing fashion. And this is a Tulane team that is, frankly, not all that good. And hopefully they can keep the momentum going, because you've got a big one coming up after the bye week in ECU.
Yeah, I think this team is probably very similar to USF, but not as good. I think they're a team that struggles on offense, much like USF does, with a younger quarterback that's prone to make mistakes. I think defensively is the strength of their team. I think their defensive backfield is one of the better ones Cincinnati will see this year. But this is a game where, even though it's on the road, you sure hope you go back and keep the momentum and keep things going and win this game.
Critical, obviously, that they keep the momentum going. We saw some good things from Munchie Legault filling in the second half. But chances are Gunnar Kiel will be back, as Coach Tuberville has said. Expects him to play against Tulane, which, who knows, that could mean he's out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I saw Gunnar downstairs. I just came out from the press conference. Gunnar was walking around with like Zuba pants with were American flag. I thought it was a white Harlem Globetrotter at first, but Gunnar looks fine. And of course, it's hard to say. I'm sure his ribs are bothering him and everything. But Coach Tuberville said that probably both will play, Munchie and Gunnar. But if Gunnar's healthy, Gunnar will start again.
And how about the emergence of Mike Boone?
Oh, wow.
You could see in camp that he was a talented kid.
Yeah, the first thing I saw of him was in the summer workouts. He had a shirt off, and I said, "Who is that guy?" And they said, "That's Mike Boone." And I mean, he looks the part.
Well, he was a weightlifting champion in Florida in high school.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe he was a weightlifting champion in high school.
Well, he
looks like it. Yeah,
he's a big kid. He's got a nice mix of some power, some quickness, some speed.
Good vision.
Absolutely.
He did a nice job waiting for a lane to open a couple times, and then when the lane got open, shot right through it. I mean, that was the part that we were joking around about down on the field. They were trying to run the clock, and he kept ripping off 50-yard runs. They're trying to grind it down and get the game over with. The next thing you know, he's in the open field with 3 guys trailing him. An impressive-looking young man. And if they found something in him to go with Gunnar for the next couple years, that changes things completely because then everything is open in the passing game.
Well, yeah, if they can, up front is the big concern. You know, we're getting
Yeah.
ahead of ourselves for next year, but he certainly is a guy that showed himself to be a weapon, and I know and to do it against USF, a Florida kid that
Right.
came here that wasn't really recruited by them, had to sting for their fans.
Yeah, that one had to hurt a little bit. You know, obviously they're happy with Marlon Mack until he got bottled up. And
Right, and
Mike
Dennis
Boone,
Johnson,
yeah.
who's Shammi's brother, is also a very capable back. But Mike Boone certainly blew the doors off, and I think we saw a story on our website that Barton Simmons did on the top 10 true freshmen, and I think Boone was 6th or 7th on that
Yeah,
list.
so he's obviously opening some eyes, and I know they really wanted to redshirt him, but now you've got Rod Moore out. Maybe they said it was a hand injury at the press conference. We don't know the details on that, but you've definitely got Jose Williams out for probably the year.
Yeah.
Tion Green out for the year. You've moved all the way down that depth chart, so
Bunchbach is out for this game.
yeah. So Mike Boone is going to get the rock.
Yeah, and then, I don't know, Bobby Brown maybe
Yeah.
is your next guy there, but you certainly hope you get...
Maybe
You know, I remember,
maybe EJ Jr. moving back,
maybe,
running back.
we'll see, but I don't know.
Tim Adams in the backfield. You got any
You
eligibility
know,
left?
last week, Coach Grant came, I was at the Wednesday practice, even though it was closed, and Coach Grant came walking over, he's got any eligibility left? I said, I'm still in that fullback mode right now. That tailback days are gone.
Well, fullback dive
Yeah.
to Tim Adams.
No,
No.
one play, that's it.
All right. I mean, there's not a lot of detail to get into in this one. This is a game Cincinnati should win. If they continue to play well, now the record down there isn't great overall, but it's since they've been down there, the program has undergone a complete transformation.
Yeah.
So you've got to go down there if you're going to continue to hope to contend for an AC title, and you're going to set your sights on ECU in 2 weeks. You've got to go down to Tulane, get this win, and get back home.
You have to, and you know, Curtis Johnson's a guy that took over that program 2 years ago, and there's some remarkable things about Curtis Johnson. He's a guy that grew up there in New Orleans, but when I looked at some of his background, first of all, he is a FBS head coach that has never been a coordinator, which I find
That's
very
rare,
unusual.
yeah.
And then the second point to this is, before he got that job, he had never been anything other than a wide receiver coach. Every place he'd been a wide receiver coach, including the 6 previous years with the New Orleans Saints. So it's unusual for a guy not to be a coordinator to get that promotion, and then to not coach at least other positions on both sides of the ball.
I mean, obviously the Saints tie helps.
And the fact he was a local guy, and I'm
Yeah.
sure they wanted a local guy. Bob Toledo had been there previously, and he's done a good job there. But you know, that's a team. This is a team where quarterback-wise, they've got Tanner Hill, who's a redshirt freshman. He's a kid that they really like. He missed the last 2 games due to injury, but he's only completing a little over 50% of his passes. He's been picked 9 times in the 5 starts that he's made. And then his backup is Nick Montana, who of course is Joe.
Right.
We've had a nice little run. We had Deion Sanders Jr., we had the Dungy's kid, and now we've got him. So it's kind of interesting. And then Nick Montana now is hurt. So I think Tanner Hill's the guy that's going to be starting, but I don't see this offense. If they can put some pressure on Hill, I think and they've actually got a pretty good redshirt freshman running back named Beatty. He's about the same size as Marlon Mack. He's had a couple touchdown runs in the 80 to 90 yard range. So he's a kid that if they can run the football, they could be maybe pretty tough. But Cincinnati's done a good job the last 2 weeks of shutting down the run. So that's what I think, like every game, you got to stop the run. If they can do that, they'll be in good shape against them.
Who you got?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about defensively, because I mentioned about the
I'll just hang out over here.
the Tulane defense. I don't think they are smaller up front. Their linebackers are relatively small, but their defensive back. This is the second week in a row where we're going to see the top tackler on the other team being a safety.
Yeah.
Sam
Which
Schofield.
is never good.
No, it isn't good. In fact, 3 of their top 4 tacklers are defensive backs, but those guys have, I think, 7 picks back there.
Yeah.
So they're guys that Coach talked about. They like to do a lot of man-to-man, and that's music to wire eaters with that wide receiver group that Cincinnati has. So I think the Bearcats will be able to score some points. The other big advantage I think Cincinnati has is special teams. They do not have a good field goal kicker, and their punting game, I would say, is similar to what ours is, Cincinnati's is, with about a 37-yard average this year. So I wanted to talk about all 3 sides of the football before I made my pick. But
Okay, well, good. Let's go. I'm going to look at trophies.
I'm taking the Bearcats, and I think it's going to be at least 2 touchdowns, at least.
I concur. I think this is one that They've got some momentum going. Hopefully, Gunner's where he needs to be. You've added the element of an explosive running back in Mike Boone. Put the pressure on that defense, and then make their offense try to catch up, which I don't think they have the talent to do.
No, they did it against Tulsa in the first game.
Week, yeah.
But I don't think they have an explosive offense at all. The key for Cincinnati is not to turn the ball over.
Right. Take care of the ball, score touchdowns, put the heat on them, get on the plane, come back and
win number 5. Go 5-3 and take a week off.
Have an uneventful weekend. That's going to wrap it up. He's Tim Adams. I'm Chad Brent. He's Tim Adams. I'm Chad Brendel. BearcatJournal.com.